We're going to talk about the Evap system in a 2011 Chevy Equinox. The Evap system limits fuel vapor from escaping into the atmosphere. The Evap system uses a carbon canister, a vent solenoid valve, and a purge solenoid valve, and many other components that we will talk about later. And also it is controlled by the ECM. It also uses several tests to determine if the Evap system is leaking or restricted. Here we have a few of the Evap system components. Our purge solenoid valve, which controls the flow of the vapor from the Evap system into the intake manifold. Our Evap canister, which is used to absorb and store fuel vapor. Our fuel tank pressure sensor, which measures the difference between the pressure or vacuum in the fuel tank and the outside air pressure. Our fuel fill pipe check valve prevents spitback during refueling. The vent solenoid valve controls fresh airflow into the Evap canister. And you can either have a fuel fill cap or a capless fuel fill. We also have a fuel limit vent valve, which acts as a shutoff valve during refueling. So here on the left side of the engine bay, behind the camshaft cover, we have our purge valve with a connector of 2 wires. Here's a good look of it. Okay, right here we have our canister, and you can see right there we have a sensor. Inside this itself we have the vent valve. So right here we have our fuel tank. Inside here we have our fuel pump. We have a primary and secondary fuel level sensor and a fuel tank pressure sensor as well. On the driver's side under the vehicle we have our fuel pump pressure sensor, and it's connected to the fuel line. In the next few clips, I will show you about the purge solenoid valve leak test, large leak test, canister vent restricted test, and small leak test. There'll be other leak tests you can read about if you have all data or any other source to look up diagnosis and procedures. I'll go ahead and read them if you need assistance in those areas. Here are 3 diagnosis procedures. We have the temperature variant, a smoke procedure to locate the leaks, and to detect leaks we have the flow meter test. Again, look up in all data or any source that you have to confirm all these steps. These are just clips. Here's our wiring diagram for the fuel pump pressure sensor. We have 3 wires going to the connector. Our brown wire is our 5-volt ref, purple is our signal, and the gray is our ground. Here we have a wiring for the vent solenoid valve and our purge solenoid valve. Both of them have 2 wires. One should be the ground, and the other should be battery voltage. Here we're checking for continuity on the
purge solenoid. Okay, here we are commanding on the Evap purge by duty cycle, and we have the fuel tank pressure and our short and long-term fuel trims as a comparison number. I can go ahead and start opening it right now. You can see, give it 40% duty cycle, and we can watch our long-term drop and our short-term dropped right there along with it, a little bit early actually. And then you can see our fuel tank pressure is down at negative 1.5. We can just keep going with this thing until there our short-term fuel trims all the way down to negative 27. Long-term still at 4. Our fuel tank pressure is down to negative 3.15, and we are at 78% duty cycle. We'll keep going, see what it does at 98% duty cycle. We have negative, our fuel tank pressure just keeps building right now. Just keeps going down. Fuel trims are bottomed out at negative 27, and our long term is holding steady at 4. and our fuel tank pressure is starting to bottom out at negative 5.5 or so. Here we are doing the sealed purge test, and this just shows us how much vacuum we can build in the fuel tank. And we're just going to duty cycle our purge valve up all of it, put her at 40 or 50, and as you can see we're building pressure quick, and yep, it just kicked me out of it. We hit probably negative 14 or so psi though.